Governor Abbott, thank you so much for joining us here. We really appreciate your time. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'll jump right in. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate President Biden's State of the Union address?
I give it an F for failure. I mean, think about this concept, and that is clearly, nationally, and in every single state, there's a number one issue in America, and that's securing the border. It's an issue on which he has failed, and he waited 40 minutes to even bring it up. And when he brought it up, he provided no solutions whatsoever and hardly any empathy whatsoever. He gave a slap in the face to an overwhelming majority of Americans, including even Democrats, who say, do something about the border. And he is doing nothing about the border.
Now, Governor, he did bring up this bipartisan border security bill, which you and House Republicans, many House Republicans, have opposed. Why did you oppose it? And Governor, when did compromise become a dirty word?
So compromise should be effective, and it should start with a bill that's actually passed one of the chambers of the United States of America. The House has passed an effective border security plan. If Joe Biden really believes in compromise, he would work with the House chamber and work with the House Speaker and say, this is a program we'll begin to work with and actually pass a border bill. Remember this, what was going on in the Senate was not a border bill. It was a Ukraine funding bill that has some border issues attached to it. And know this, what was attached to it, it didn't secure the border. It codified illegal immigration.
But it did have support from Senate Republicans who worked on this bill. And even the Border Patrol Union had endorsed the bill, calling it a step in the right direction and far better than the status quo.
To be clear, and Brandon Judd, the president of the Border Patrol Union, was talking about this after the State of the Union last night, talking about what Joe Biden was talking about was an abject failure as it concerned actually securing the border. What Brandon Judd, the head of the Border Patrol Council, said is that they compromised solely to get more officers who are Border Patrol agents who could help them actually secure the border.
Well, exactly. So the Border Patrol Union saying that it would get them more than 100 Border Patrol officers, 100 immigration judges. Isn't that better than nothing?
So what you just said is nothing more than a false narrative and a piece of fiction, and I'll tell you why. And that's because the way Joe Biden uses the Border Patrol, the way Joe Biden uses ICE, is not to enforce the laws of the United States of America. He uses the Border Patrol and ICE to actually violate the laws of the United States of America. There are laws on the books right now that enforce immigration in the United States that Joe Biden not only is not enforcing, he's actually violating laws passed by Congress that requires the president to take action that he is not taking.
We'll get to some of those actions that I know you have been fighting in court quite a bit. But I also want to bring up, look, you probably have been among the people across this country that are most responsible for the Democratic Party and the White House moving to the right on immigration. It wasn't too long ago that Democrats wouldn't call this a crisis. Now they are. That controversial decision to bus migrants to Democrat-led cities across the country. The White House called that a political stunt.
So first of all, let's talk about the time progression of Democrats, because it wasn't too long ago when Bill Clinton gave a State of the Union address where he talked about actually doing something about border security. And even Barack Obama talked about doing something about border security. The only person who's ever talked about not enforcing the border laws is Joe Biden. And that's only been recent, only in the past 3 years. 3 years ago, but before Joe Biden took office, he inherited an office that had led to the lowest illegal border crossings in something like 40 years. All Joe Biden had to do was to leave in place the policies that he inherited, and we would have a far more secure border today.
And because everything's bigger in Texas, I know there are a lot of legal challenges here, a lot of big lawsuits that you have. You are taking on the federal government because of buoys on the Rio Grande, razor wire in Eagle Pass, and also SB 4, this controversial law that would allow police officers in Texas to arrest migrants who entered the state illegally. Shouldn't immigration be up to the shouldn't immigration enforcement be up to the federal government?
First, let's clarify your terms. You mentioned the federal government. A lot of people think of the federal government as the president and his administration. What the Constitution does, it gives the authority to Congress, not the president, not his administration.
Not the state.
It does, however, to the state, In Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, it gives authority to states to be able to act when the federal government refuses to act. And James Madison made that perfectly clear during the ratification process, that states do have the power to use their militia to push back against smugglers, which is what was happening in Virginia, and apply that to Texas. We're pushing back against smugglers here in the very same way that James Madison was talking about in Virginia.
I know this SB 4 is now going all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, but ruling against you, a judge recently wrote, surges in immigration do not constitute an invasion. Isn't that word invasion dangerous, Governor?
So the word invasion is the word that is used in the United States Constitution. If we're going to talk about this in a way that leads to a law that authorizes Texas to do what it's going to do, we have to use the words that are used in the Constitution, which is why those words are chosen.
Are migrants crossing the border an invasion?
Well, again, you need to clarify your word choice.
I'm asking you, sir.
No, these are not migrants crossing the border. These are people who are coming across the border in violation of federal law. In the state of Texas, there are 28 ports of entry. Look at Eagle Pass, Texas alone, where people are crossing between a port of entry. Right above where they are crossing is a bridge they could cross over legally, and yet they're choosing to come across the border illegally. But more important than that, you see increasing evidence that we have criminals who have been let out of Venezuelan prisons who are coming across the border, wrecking carnage across the United States. We have people crossing the border on the terrorist watch list in record numbers. Who knows what type of terrorism they will be causing in future years because Joe Biden let them into the United States.
And Governor, finally, because I know we're running out of time, a lot of people across the country would look at what's happening with this bipartisan border bill. And I know you answered some of it, but they would like something done right now. Why wait until the November election to do something on the border that could potentially get passed right now?
So remember this, what is in the United States Senate is not a border bill. It's a Ukraine funding bill with some gimmicks added to it that do absolutely nothing, let me finish, that do absolutely nothing to decrease crossings. Actually, it cements and allows crossings across the border. The bill already passed by Congress, by the United States House.
But it doesn't have Democratic support. The bipartisan bill does.
And if we had a genuine leader as president of the United States who really did want to get something done to secure the border, he would work with his own party to work with the Republican-passed bill to get that law passed.
But he did work with his own party, and he worked with the Republicans in the Senate. Why not pass that bill now?
Because the Senate bill codifies illegal immigration and actually promotes even more illegal immigration as opposed to stopping illegal immigration. The bill that stops illegal immigration is a bill already passed out of the United States House of Representatives. That is the bill that the president, if he really wants to do something, he will work with Democrats to find a way to pass a version of H.R. 2.
Governor, do you want to be Donald Trump's vice president this year?
So listen, my goal is singular, and that is to be the leader of the great state of Texas.
And do you plan to run for president in 2028?
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.